Bam. We're live. Sorry, I'm reading a text. Yeah. Tonight's show is going to be nuts. It's going to be so fun. Oh my goodness. Did you see that interview that Rory did with that redheaded lady? What's her name? Marcia?
Yeah, I think it was like Amy or something. Let's see.
Starts with an M. And I don't know for sure if it's a lady, by the way. And I'm not saying that like I'm not saying it's a lady like to be a dickhead. It looks like a lady to me, so that's why I said it's a lady. But if it's not, like I'm not doing it to be offensive. But I just know it comes from the DEI council, so I know that that thing's all about perception. There's no go behind it.
Was it Amy West?
No. That's actually a friend of mine. I had her on the CrossFit podcast. I'm actually a huge fan of her. Puts her money where her mouth is. Good morning, Cobra. Good morning, Travis. I don't think necessarily all the people who are on that count. I don't think probably no one on that council is bad, but they're 100% all misled, or they're part of misleading. There's only two ways to look at it. But man, that interview is vapid. Holy shit! Say what you're gonna do. It's amazing that the reason why, Amy West is a great dude. The reason and beyond, and let me tell you why she's so amazing. She is walking the walk. By the way, we're having Miranda Alcaraz on today. If you guys don't know who that is, you are going to be so stoked to meet her. It is like she's a winner. Good afternoon from Northern Ireland. The DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And we'll go over this tonight. But diversity means that you look different than me, but you think the same. Equity means that regardless if you're addicted to heroin or if I've been working out in the fields all day picking strawberries, that we both get steak dinner every night. And inclusion is not everyone's going to Everest. And when you demand that everyone does go to Everest, everyone else suffers. Oh, let's see what's going on here. Hold on.
Was it Mason Alberts?
Yes, Mason Alberts. Yes. And you know, it's can you send to my email? I thought that's where it was going. Oh, my bad. What's your email? Oh, there it is. I see it. My bad. Sevan podcast. They just get their shit together. Oh yeah, her. That's actually a good picture of her. Wow, those are good looking kids. I think clearly she's nervous, but
yeah, she was having a real tough time explaining anything, to be quite honest.
But yeah. But the whole thing about the woke culture is to not use words that mean anything and to not know exactly what they're doing, because if you were to define them based on what words mean, they're basically a segregationist, racist, homophobic group. What do I mean by that? They look at people based on their skin, color of their skin, and to decide how to interact with them or what to give them, and they justify it with like that's how you help people. But really, beyond the implicit, the explicit piece that you're communicating to those people is they're less than you. The guy with one arm's less than you. The black guy's less than you. The Jews are less than you. Just however you start categorizing them, you're explicitly at the deepest level telling them that they're less than you, and it's nuts. It's nuts that more people don't see that. Okay, I don't want any of this dirt to fall on Miranda. She's an amazing woman who runs an amazing community and doesn't need any of my Uh-oh. Doesn't need any of my... It's not opinion, by the way. It's not... We're not talking about opinion. People will be like, well, the truth falls somewhere in the middle. Shut the fuck up. It's not opinion.
What does vapid mean?
Like empty. Like just, I think feel free to look it up. Let's figure it out. I think it means just like empty, like the bowl is empty. Or just, when I use the word vapid, I just picture someone's brain with just air blowing through it, like a fan blowing through it. If you guys don't like this show, vapid, offering nothing that is stimulating or challenging. Oh, so less than a cool breeze. If you guys don't like me, don't watch. That's not because I give a care, but because it's not good for you. And it's not like, don't come here just to bathe in like your hate for me. And then on top of that, the DEI Council, it's so like, I don't know who the Morning Chalk Up thinks they are. You know what they remind me? They remind me of my high school newspaper. Just like, you know, like when everyone's pretending to be journalists and everyone's got the little notepad in the pen.
Yeah, the legal pad.
Yeah, they did this. They're doing this hit piece on Dave that it's so obvious that they're working with CrossFit with. It's like so obvious. Like, yo, guys, you're saying that you're breaking a story that the water in Madison was dirty. And then in the same article, you're saying that you knew about this in August, but you're waiting till now to release it. And we know that the reason why you didn't release it then is because probably, I'm guessing, that Andrew Weinstein said you couldn't. But now that you guys are freaking out because you did something totally unethical and are divulging information about why Dave was fired because he didn't collaborate, now you're starting a smear campaign and going back and releasing to try to, and I know what you're doing. You're trying to, it's the same playbook you did with the, Greg Glassman. What you are doing is you are trying to rally up just a few really loud voices, like the ones that have no integrity, the blue checkmark squad, the Katrin's Doter team, and you want them to just start smashing people. And it's like, you want them to start smashing Dave. The water's dirty at the, okay, I'll stop. Hi.
I ended up having to join from my phone. It wouldn't work from my computer. It said I couldn't access my camera.
Do you have Chrome? Were you on Chrome browser?
Yeah, I was on Chrome, and it said that it couldn't. My camera wouldn't let it. Yeah. Let me go grab my AirPods though, because you guys are really quiet on my phone. I'll be right back.
Do you want me to talk louder?
It's like my phone's turned all the way up, but it's not. Oh. I don't know.
All right.
Hold on.
Take your time. It's my show. I'll do what I want. You might be the biggest guest I've ever had. Spit on the screen. I don't agree with everything Sevan says. So funny when people say that.
It's like, well, I don't agree with a lot of things a lot of people say.
It's such a weird caveat. Yeah, I read into it. I'm guilty, but that like you're scared. Like you're scared. Imagine. Here's what the DEI Council does. Imagine, and I've said this before, being born onto planet Earth, and there's a word waiting for you that you have to be offended by. What you'd want to do is get rid of that word so that everyone who's born doesn't have to deal with it. And by get rid of it, I mean take away like make it so it doesn't have to offend people. And instead, a DEI Council reinforces that. It's just trickery. She's so gorgeous. Please, enough with your superficial comments. How disgusting.
Oh, I told all my friends to join and say things like that.
I cannot believe someone sent me a link to a Reddit thread where there's like 300 people telling me what a creepy piece of shit I am. And the examples they give are amazing because I told Danielle Brandon, that's this new, you might not know her. She's like a new CrossFit Games athlete. Okay. I made, and I'm friends with her, and I made a comment on her Instagram post that her shirt was too big because it was like kind of like bunching up and shit. And like people think I'm creepy because I told Danielle Brandon. I mean, I could read into it and think that they said it because she's a girl and I'm a boy.
It is why, because listen, we have
I mean, I'm just like, I'm not allowed to. What if I told you I suck dick on the weekends and I'm gay? Then can I comment on girls' clothes? Because I think, yeah, that's what I thought.
No, we have a,
hey, I suck dick on the weekends, just so you know.
We have a 35,000 person Facebook group, and it's 70% women. And the amount of times that they openly discuss my husband, if it was reversed and the dudes in there were talking about me and being like, oh, Miranda, this and that, it would be so inappropriate. And I think everyone knows that and would recognize that, but the women have no issue doing it at all.
And I'm okay with the double standard. As long as we can talk about it honestly, I agree. I'm okay with the double standard. But just don't lie to yourself about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Bye, Caleb. Thank you. Do you ever I was thinking about what happened to CrossFit, and then I was looking at street parking. I think a lot of people don't realize what happened to CrossFit. And I don't say this in a pejorative way or a negative way. It's just what happened to it. Well, I'll go back a second. There was a company called Lululemon, and they were owned by just like a guy, and their thing was this like breathe and love everyone, and their bags were all cool, and it was just this total like just love vibe, right? And they kind of cracked the code on making asses look nice, and so it was just like this cool thing because asses are cool, everyone knows that. And then they got bought out, and then legally they have a fiduciary duty now. I don't even know what that word means, but I sound smart when I say it. to make money, they have an obligation to make money now. And so it's not, and when you speak of love, it is something that should come first always. It's at the top of it's synonymous with God and presence and awareness. And so once you can't do both, I don't think you can be Wall Street and love. Because they each have a different God.
I think you gotta pick one that's the biggest one, and then yeah.
So street parking still has I don't know, I'm not one to talk like this, but still has one of God's children running it. and when CrossFit was sold, when CrossFit was owned, CrossFit had one of God's children running it, and now it doesn't. It has this idea that it has to make money. So it's a trip, because I was thinking, and people don't get that, how like that changes everything. The insincerity of, like, without recognizing that so many things are now going to be sincere. Like health is I heard someone from the DEI council say health is the most important thing. No, you're lying. It's okay that it's the second thing. Don't lie. Hey, after we make a shitload of money, we're going to make you motherfuckers healthy. It's okay. I'm on board. Everyone wants real. So I was going through not all your stuff. I was just scouring Miranda, scouring Julian, scouring street parking. And there's this like giving thing that you're doing of yourself, that like you're just giving more and more of yourself. And the one that really caught me was the one where you're making chicken it's a pretty recent post. You're making chicken in the kitchen, and you say, I don't want to be doing this right now. And I'm taking it off the street parking, menu list. And Julian put the chicken in. I didn't ask him. And I'm like, holy shit, she's not even faking it. She's not like, I didn't want to do this, but hi, my little flock. It's like you really don't want to be doing it. I'm like, oh fuck, this is like weird. Like she's, you know what I mean? Like and that's like giving of yourself. And there's no end in sight. This street parking thing is just growing and growing and growing. Do you ever just go behind your bedroom door and close it? You can't see the end. There's no end. I mean, unless you're already talking to people at Goldman Sachs and you're not telling us. I mean, how the fuck are you handling this pressure? You're giving so much of yourself. The flock is keep growing, and it's like, dude, like, what's the end game?
I think that there's
sell to Rosa.
I think that there's what
the
you're
flock
saying,
is massive, people. It's massive.
It is hard to like put yourself out there like that and have this expectation that you're just like going to show up for these people all the time, every day, no matter what's going on. I mean, I'm 35 and a half weeks pregnant right now, and but there's also something freeing in every time you do show up being honest, because there's no like facade. So if I go on there, I don't have like this persona that I have to establish that's not actually me, or that I have to maintain that's not actually me. So when I go on there and I say, I don't feel like doing this, but here I am doing it, I can have I can just be real about it. So that helps. And we're trying to develop, Julian and I came
that's double edged though, right?
Yeah.
Because you're
Because
free.
then if people don't like me, they actually don't like me.
That too. I wasn't even thinking that.
Like, it's not like this persona where I'm like, I don't care if you don't like this fake person that I made up. It's not me anyways. But yeah, if people don't like me, it's actually, or if people don't like what we're doing, it's actually something that's coming from what we really believe in and who we are, not something else. So that is hard, I would say sometimes. But we're trying to grow our coaching staff and the faces and things like that. It's why we highlight the rest of our staff so much, so that it's not always just on me and Julian. I mean, we signed a 10-year lease at this new office space that we just moved into. And I'm like, I
Is
turned
that
40
in
this year. I'm
Washington?
like, yeah. I
Okay.
was like, I'm gonna be 50 years old when this lease is up. Like, that's like, who wants the 50-year-old I mean, I guess other 50-year-old ladies want advice from the 50-year-old lady, but it's a different demographic at that point. So we're trying to grow more personalities and coaches and stuff like that to be able to take some of that on.
How does such a successful businesswoman still not learn from her mistakes? Miranda's still saying the same silly shit she said from day one. Miranda, why don't you tell us the first time you realized that you didn't understand demographics? When you started the company.
Oh yeah, I guess.
And then you got pregnant and you're like, no one wants to see the pregnant girl.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. I mean,
they're going to
our
love you at
membership is gonna
50.
be 10 years
They're-
older also.
They're going to love you at 50, Miranda. What the fuck are you talking about? You're going to have 16-year-old girls looking up to you.
When we started street parking, a couple days later, I think I found out I was pregnant. I was like, well, there goes that idea. Because I mean, we only know what we know, right? And at that point I mean, you remember, like, I was CrossFit Miranda. I was like one of the first females that was really lean all the time and had abs, and could also, you know, do a decent interview and talk to people and give lectures and things like that. So
And move the weights.
yeah.
And hang with the boys.
We were talking about it the other day when in like 2009, 2010, I was like the strong athlete. I was one of the bigger ones. And now if I went on the floor at Wadapalooza, I would look so tiny next to those girls. It's crazy.
Yeah. This, it's almost like you haven't, it's like you've cracked the code, but you're also writing it.
I mean, we always say it's like a runaway train that we're like chasing after. Like, oh, we didn't realize the monster in a positive way that we built, you know?
Do you ever, so do you ever feel that pressure? Like where you just have to close like you just go into your bedroom and you cry and then Julian will be like, what's wrong? You're like, I don't know. It's like just a teapot of just steam coming off his tears or maniacal laughter.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I cry. I mean, even when I'm not pregnant, I'm a very emotional person, and I'm very, I definitely am like a person who's prone to like bottling it and then like a full meltdown. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's massive. I don't think people realize, and maybe I'm just making this up. I haven't talked about it, but it's so obvious from your post how much you're taking on of everyone's happiness, not happiness. The street parking is taking this shit like as fun as everything is. It's serious as a heart attack. Like you can tell like each member matters.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I'll cry in our meetings talking about like, hey, we got to care about these people, and these people are relying on us and everything. That was one of the first realizations that Julian and I had. I think we started street parking with kind of like, oh, this will be fun. It'll be like 100 people who are like sharing their scores and work out at home, and that's all it was. And then after the first month, we had like 700 people. And then I felt this weight of responsibility of these people are like relying on me now to tell them what to do and to give them advice and to help them reach their goals or improve their lives and things like that. And then it felt like a massive responsibility, not in like a negative way, but like almost like in a parent-child way, you know, when the kid comes, you have your first kid, you're like, oh, this is going to be fun. He's going to be cute. I'm going to put him in some cute clothes and, you know, and then the first time they cry, you're like, oh, it's on me to fix this right now. Yeah.
How do you respond to the people who reach out to you? So on Instagram, I'm not even selling anything. I don't even have like any responsibility to anyone, but when people write to me, I kind of feel like I have this responsibility to at least open it and like give it a double heart, a thumbs up, or thank you, Miranda, and um, and there's a lot of fucking like annoying people out there who will write a paragraph about how they don't want to take their time and your time, and they don't mean to bug you and all this stuff. And they've already taken more time than anyone else, the last 100 people who DM'd you, by telling you they're sorry, they don't want to take it. How do you like, what's the protocol there? How many emails, like, are there levels before something gets to you? Like, how do you, there must be this flood, like, Miranda, I have to talk to you. I'm pregnant and I have this question for you. And it's like,
the pregnancy ones are crazy. There was like a peak, I would say maybe a couple years ago, and then it's not as much now. There was definitely a time when we first started street parking for the first year, it was just me and Julian, and we would not go to sleep at night. And this is while I was pregnant with our first. We would not go to bed at night until every single person who had used the hashtag street parking had a comment on their Instagram post, until every Facebook post had been commented on or liked by one of us, until every support email had been answered. And as a business, we still try to do that as much as possible, but there's a team. When it comes to my personal Instagram, I mean, I just had to, at a certain point, like, let go of it. I liked the feature when Instagram started doing like the people that you don't follow, and so you can kind of sift through those a little bit and they don't know that you've seen it. And I hate that I can't answer all of them, but at the end of the day, like, I got to be realistic, and a lot of times they're questions about like the workout, and there's plenty of other places they can go to ask that, like our Facebook group and stuff like that. So yeah,
I want to be nice to you, but you're starting to piss me off.
Yeah, and I mean, I've built genuine friendships with a good number of our members, or like I interact with a lot of them back and forth. Some of our members that have been around for longer, but not always. Sometimes like I'll see a new one that pops up that I want to like go and engage with and follow and unfollow their story for whatever reason. But I definitely don't answer all of them, and I'm just waiting for the day where, you know, I have somebody do this post about how I'm mean and I've ignored them for years.
Yeah,
and I don't really care about people.
There has to be one of those coming every day. There must be something slipping through the crack. I mean, I just went to Wadapalooza. It was an insane event. I can't believe that they actually do that. A storm comes through, fucks their
every time there's a storm at Wadapalooza.
Fucks their shit up, and then there's all this hate on Instagram. I mean, most of it's love, but I'm just like, aren't these, like, even if I was angry at them, I wouldn't speak about it. Like, you just saw what they went through. Yeah. Like, they just got smashed.
Yeah.
I think people forget that there's other people on the other side.
They do. And I think actually my realness helps with that a little bit, because I am very active in our community. And when I post stuff and people comment on the post, I'm very interactive with that. I'm not one of those people that just posts and then never looks at the comments, and it was just me putting something up. Like, I'll interact with people in the comments, and so I think people know that I see it, and they see me more as a real person because I do a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I don't get a ton of mean people, but it happens, I don't know, maybe like once a month.
How many weeks are you pregnant?
35 and a half.
35 and a half weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So 35 and a half weeks ago, the sperm met the egg.
No, that's not how it works. It's 35 and a half weeks ago I had my last period, but you're not allowed to talk about periods.
Understood. So meaning
that's when it starts. It starts at the end or at the beginning, I think, of your last cycle.
Oh, so you could have gotten pregnant
like 2 weeks later, probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So maybe you're only 33 weeks pregnant.
Well, they start the week counter at the cycle. That's how they measure it.
Okay. So you're according to, like, if I looked up how long is a pregnancy, in 5 weeks and 35 days, you'll be pushing out a baby.
Yeah, my due date's in like 33 days. My first two both came late. Knox was 3 days late and Banner was 8 days late.
And when you say late, did your water break for both of those?
No, Knox's, it never broke until I was like heavy, like I had been in labor for hours, and they actually had to break it for me.
Was that your first one?
Yeah, at the birth center. And then Banner's, it broke. We were just like sitting eating pizza one night, and it broke, and I didn't really realize it at first because I was sitting down, and it never had broken for Knox, and so it was like kind of this weird thing. But the midwives that we work with, they give us this little Q-tip that like if it's amniotic fluid, like you can swipe it in the fluid that came out and it turns a different color if it's amniotic fluid. And so that's how we knew that it was my water with him.
Miranda, you peed your pants. No, my water broke. No, you peed your pants. Well, let's get the Q-tip out. Like that?
Well, it took me because I was sitting, so it's not like on the movies where like a ton came out. And I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens to your body late in pregnancy. And so I stood up and then it came out a little bit more, but it still wasn't like some like big like water balloon crash to the ground like you see, you know.
We need cleanup on aisle 3.
Yeah,
were you at
like
Were you at a pizza joint?
No, we were at home.
Oh, do you remember what kind of pizza?
Yeah, I think it was this place near us that we go to a lot. What is it called? We haven't eaten it. I haven't felt like pizza at all this pregnancy, so we haven't had it at all.
Was it
I
pesto?
can't remember. But it's just like a meat lovers, like a local place.
I asked because one of the I guess they're called wives' tales that we were told was pesto. Eat is like go get pesto pizza, extra pesto, and we tried that because Haley had
like
Avi
things,
3 weeks late. Yeah.
Oof.
It was nuts.
Did Haley have what kind of birth did Haley have?
Just in the living room on blankets.
Yeah, I was gonna say because normally your doctor's not letting you go 3 weeks late.
Yeah. She's probably told me never to say that on the air. She's probably
well, I mean, I'm okay with it, but I know doctors are pushing for like early, if anything. So.
And she had the twins at home too, and that's illegal in the state of California.
Yeah.
Which is, and so your first baby you had in a birthing center.
Yep.
And that's
in
Knox?
California. Mm-hmm.
And your second baby, what's his name?
His name's Banner.
You're gonna have 3 boys.
Oh yeah.
Dude, it's gonna be crazy.
I mean, you know.
It's gonna be crazy. You can't have them inside. They're not indoor pets.
No.
Don't try.
And it's rainy here. We just take them out.
They are not indoor pets.
They are not. They ruin everything.
So why did you have Knox in a birthing center? Did you did you start, like, tell me that journey of like how you and Helene decide where you're gonna have your baby?
Yeah, I don't at least back then, and I've gotten progressively more this way, I guess, but I wouldn't consider myself like somebody that people would know right away that I would do a natural home birth. I had a bad experience with hospitals, as you know, when I broke my neck and they misdiagnosed me. And ever since then, I have a hard time with hospitals. I have a hard time with regular doctors and things like that. I lost confidence in the whole system through that incident.
You have medical PTSD?
Yeah, and hospital PTSD. Like I just, and I've always been a little bit weird, even when I would get hurt and things like that when I was younger, like in high school. I come from a place also in Salt Lake City, Utah. I come from a place where there's a high level of like pain pill addiction, and the Mormon community isn't. I'm not going to say they're okay with it, but they don't look at it the same as regular drugs because it's a prescription, and so it's kind of like a workaround for a lot of people. And I had a lot of people that had really bad like pain medication addictions, and so even when I had my appendix taken out, or when I had my knee surgery, or when I had my neck surgery, like I took as little pain medication as possible, and the amount that they prescribed me was just so high. And so I just I take issue with a lot of those types of things around like the medical world anyway. And so I knew I didn't see myself as like a home birther, like a I guess for lack of a better term, like a hippie like that. But I knew I wanted a natural birth, and I knew if I went to the hospital, they would push me into trying to do things that I didn't want to do. So we found a birth center that was like 10 minutes from our house in California that they were really awesome. And the room that we had him in was like it was like a really nice hotel room. It had like a really nice shower and a really nice bathtub and a really nice bed and everything. And it felt more like a home than a hospital. And so, and they don't do any sort of like pain management or anything like that there. So that's why we chose it in California. And I was going to do that here. I had a place here lined up to do the same thing. But then when COVID happened, they said that I wasn't going to be able to bring Knox to the birth. Like I could only bring one person, and I couldn't bring my child. And if I showed up with any symptoms whatsoever, they were going to take me to the hospital and make me do a hospital birth. So at 35 weeks with Banner, I changed to a home birth when I only had like 5 weeks left. And I honestly think the reason that Banner was so late is because I was really stressed out toward the end of my pregnancy, because I was so scared they were like going to take my baby from me if I had any symptoms whatsoever. Because you heard those stories, right? And I was scared of contracting.
There are plenty of stories of babies and parents who were separated for more than a week at birth because of some sort of arbitrary COVID insanity.
Yeah, and I was scared of contracting COVID, not because I was scared of getting sick, but if I tested positive, I was scared. So I wasn't going around anybody. Like I was like the scared of COVID person to protect. Like I was in full protection mode of the baby. And I think that's why he was so late. And they tell you like all these like psychological factors that can make your kids come later. And I think I was just holding him in because I was scared of what might happen when he came out. But the home birth was beautiful and we loved it and it was awesome. So we're going to do the same thing again.
Christine, is 42 weeks like or is it 40 weeks? Like just like the
40 weeks is the due date that they give you. And then,
but what's the conventional wisdom for a baby being born, incubating and mama growing in there?
Honestly, it's between 38 and 42 weeks is normal. Anything in that window is normal.
All
yeah.
Right. Christine was questioning my math. Fair enough. My math should always be questioned. Going back to the birthing center, what's the difference between a birthing center and a hospital? Two of the things you said is it's a nice room in the birthing center, like more homey and less medicinal, less sterile. And then the second thing you said was there's no option for like
they don't, they're not medical. I don't know the term for this. They're midwives. So they're registered midwives. I mean, still a ton of schooling and education, but they're it's like non-traditional. I mean, I think at some point it was traditional.
Right, of course.
Birthing techniques. They couldn't do a C-section there. They can't give me an epidural there. They don't have that stuff. If any of that stuff is necessary, the hospital was like less than a mile away and they would transfer you over there. But it's like a place you can go that's not home, that you can have the baby. And my thought back then, we lived in a pretty small place and we had really close neighbors in California, like not connected walls, but I mean, they were, and so I didn't want to be like screaming in the middle of the night and in our tiny little home trying to have the baby. So it was just a more peaceful place than I feel like our home would have been at that time.
Haley had the baby, our first baby, like in like a 400 square foot apartment on the bottom floor of a 2-story apartment building. And then right across was other apartments like from us. And so at like 3 a.m, she's like, and I just laid out a shitload of blankets on the floor, right? Like just layers and layers. And like a slumber party, you'd lay out blankets for a kid. She's like, can you get it ready? I think the baby's coming. Yeah, no problem. Throw some blankets on the floor. So she's screaming and the neighbors come from across the place at like 3 a.m. I hear this knock on the door and it's the neighbor and he's like, is everything okay? I'm like, oh, hey, my wife's having a baby. He's like, all right. And the door's like open and she's on all 4 on the ground and the neighbor's like,
my God.
Fuck is going? It looked like a murder scene. So you have the baby there, and then the second baby you're saying you had at home just because it felt like it was too maybe around COVID there were some things that could pop up that could derail you.
Yeah, I mean, the very biggest and first one is that they weren't going to let us bring Knox to the birth, and we wanted him to be a part of that and to be there right when Banner came. And they told us that I could only bring one person, and that was obviously going to be Julian. So that was like the biggest thing.
And was Banner there when? And was Knox there when Banner was born?
Oh yeah, he so when I had started to push, he was over at Julian's mom's house and she lived like a mile away at the time. So she knew that I was in labor and we just called her and told her to bring him, and he came and he was in the bathroom with me while I was pushing. And then when he came out, I mean, we had
was he scared for mom? Was he crying like, oh shit, mom's hurt?
No, actually, because in between, he was a little bit, but in between contractions, I would look at him and I'd say, "I'm okay. It's okay." And I mean, he was only like not quite 3 at the time, so he couldn't exactly verbalize, I'm sure, everything he was feeling.
Nice, Caleb.
Yeah. And but then no, we have the sweetest video of him coming over and he's like, "Hi Banner, happy birthday."
Oh,
Um, it's really cute.
yeah, that's awesome. And when we had so we started going to birthing classes, and then somewhere and I was adamant about having the baby in the hospital because that's the safest place to have a baby in case anything goes wrong. They can tend to the baby, right? And somewhere in the class, in this birthing class we were taking with all these other couples, so cheesy, so awesome. I highly recommend it for everyone. It was so cheesy, made me so uncomfortable, but it was so killer. And it was 3 hours a week. I spent with my wife there, and you sit in a little couch together, and then somewhere in there, the teacher goes, "Hey, you guys don't want a hospital birth." And we're like, "What?"
Like
She's
she
like,
knew.
I'm listening to you guys fucking talk. You guys are going to fucking lose your shit in there. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then that's how we went down that path. Will it be
That's
the
really cool
same?
that she did that.
Yeah, it was super cool. Will you have the same? And now my wife said this, like after we've had the babies at home, she says, people think it's the people who have the babies at home that are the brave ones. It's the people in the hospital who are the brave ones.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. Man, if you knew how simple it was at home, you would, I mean, like you have the baby and you're there. You're done.
And you just, yeah, I mean,
You curl up in a ball and you throw some blankets in the wash, and like you don't have to worry about baby seats. No one talks to you. It's like the whole family's naked together.
you wake up in the morning and it's your food and your house and your bed
Yes.
and everything. It's really nice.
Baby's just there feeding.
There was a moment after Banner where they couldn't get my placenta to come out. That's like one of those things that they don't show in the movies either. Like after the baby comes out, you're not done. And they couldn't get it to come out like for like, I mean, everything seemed so long at that time, but I think it was still in there for like an hour. They couldn't get it to come out. And they were pushing on my stomach and like you can't pull on it because that would just create too massive of a wound in there. But there was a moment where I heard them talking about like we have 10 more minutes because I mean the midwives have rules where if they don't follow them they could lose their license or whatever. They had like 10 more minutes and if it didn't come out they were going to take me to the hospital and I was just like the baby's out, he's great, he's fine, and I still might end up having to go there anyway. Then they talked about having to like literally have one of them reach up and grab it, and that was terrifying. Luckily none of that had to happen and it came out before the 10-minute window was up, but yeah, there's a lot that people don't know about that happens.
Yeah,
But
you
other
basically
than
birthed the placenta too.
yeah, like they let you have your moment with the baby and then they're like, okay, now I got to get this other thing out, you know.
Do you have any of that stuff? Do you have the no, he didn't have the baby. That's not Miranda, that's the husband. He helped make it. Caleb, that's not the guy that
He gets in there though. He gets in the bathtub and I mean, I think I bruised his legs last time because I was like grabbing onto his like shins when I was pushing. And he said that it hurt so bad, but yeah, that's the video where Knox says happy birthday to Banner.
So you had the baby in the is there water in the tub?
Yeah.
And the baby came out in the water?
Oh, I mean, people would lose their minds. This is this kind of stuff that creeps people out that are more like that don't know much about this kind of thing. But his head was out underwater for like a good 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes.
Wow.
Because babies don't need to breathe air until they're getting their oxygen from the umbilical cord until that's cut. So, and I had learned all of this. I had read books and stuff. So I wasn't, I mean, Julian was a little worried about it, but his head was just out. And then I was waiting for the next contraction so I could push one more time, but it kind of took a little bit and I could feel him kicking me and he was just there. And yeah.
I think I remember being taught that as the baby comes out, the pressure from I guess the walls of the vagina or the uterus basically do something to the baby's lungs. They give it that first like kickstart. It's like before they start taking air. So if when the head's out, they're not even in breathing mode yet. And then they give that first like dun as it squeezes out of the vagina and then Wah.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like I could feel him kicking me because the baby also like if you've ever seen a video of like what the baby does when he's coming out is they're actually helping. They like push off in most cases anyways. So
Did you get the placenta and throw it in a blender and drink it up?
I did. Like a little piece. Both times I've done that, yeah.
The Liver King ain't got shit on you. You did that?
And then I do the dried like placenta pills too.
Oh my goodness, you are a dirt twirler. Holy
Yeah.
cow.
I
And
mean,
did you
so they talk about how because I if I went to a psychologist or a therapist, they would diagnose me as somebody who suffers with like
crazy.
anxiety for sure, and like. And so,
If you went to one, if you went to one,
but I won't because I don't want any of their nonsense. But no, I definitely am somebody that like struggles with anxiety. I think I'm just too hard on myself, and like we were talking about earlier, like put too much pressure on myself and then let it bubble up or whatever. And I know postpartum depression is like or postpartum anxiety is like a really big issue. And so when somebody suggested that the placenta stuff helps with that, I mean, I've done it with both, so I don't know if it helps or if it doesn't, but I was like willing to do anything to, prevent any of those issues from popping up.
Do you have the did you save the umbilical cords?
I have Knox's, but it's like what are you going to do with that thing? I don't think I probably have banners too somewhere in like a jewelry box or something, but
it's a trick. I have the twins umbilical cords. And they're in one of these boxes back here, and it just looks like a dried up. Like, have you ever seen a dead snake on the road and it's just dry?
Yeah, that is what it looks like. Yeah,
it's just a dead snake. I like to pull it out once in a while and show the boys and like freak them out. When you and Julian when you have Knox, is the plan to have 2 more?
I think
Are you guys just careless, or do you guys want kids?
No,
do you like
so
kids?
Knox was not planned at all. Knox was not planned. We
You were aware that the activity you were partaking in made kids, though.
Yes,
okay.
and we know the exact day that it happened. And he's so funny. You'll love this. I was surprised that I was pregnant, but he was even more shocked, and he said that he didn't think that he thought that it would be much harder for me to get pregnant because I had been lean for so long.
Yeah.
And because because of my age, like he actually said that.
How old were you?
I was 34.
Awesome. Hey, that's just the conventional wisdom shit, right? I read in Men's Health's magazine that if I smoke weed, my sperm can't get anyone pregnant. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he was surprised, and I mean, I was surprised too for the same reasons, I guess, a little bit. But it was funny to hear him say that.
And now, how is 3 what you guys wanted after that? Like, are you guys for like some religious reasons? Do you guys not like use contraception or for personal reasons? And then you're just like, we'll just take what comes, or you want kids?
The last two have been on purpose and planned. We said that Banner was going to be our last, but then there was just a feeling that I had that I brought up to him that I felt like someone was missing. And
you women, you're so clever with your words.
He agreed. No, I think and we kind of thought that because I had that feeling that it was going to be a little girl. And I mean, Julian would have been a really funny girl dad because he would have just been wrapped around her finger so hard. But no, so we planned both of them. It took me like 9 months to get pregnant with Banner. And so we thought that the same thing would happen. I was still breastfeeding Banner when I got pregnant with this one. His name's Crew, by the way. I've already said that, so we can say that out loud, Crew. But I got pregnant with Crew right away, like the first month. So they're closer together than we had planned. But no, we'll be done after this one. I think over a certain number, it would be hard for us to have the type of relationship with each one that you would want to have.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that?
It's interesting you said that because my dad told me that when he thought they had my sister first and then me, and he said something to me along those lines like I just didn't think I would have enough love for both of you.
I
And I
don't even
didn't
think
really.
it's the love. I just think it's the time and the like ability to get to know each individual child and that sort of thing. Especially because we plan on homeschooling. Um, and we've planned on homeschooling since long before COVID. It had actually has nothing to do with that, but it's the craziness of schools being open and closed and all the weirdness around it has just solidified it, of course, more. But yeah, I come from a family of 6, so I
What number
actually
are
got
you?
a
What number are you?
4. But
Okay.
I was the first girl,
Okay.
so I have 3 older brothers.
And so go on about that. And do you think that you didn't get enough attention or get to know
No,
your
I
parents as
got a
well?
lot
Oh,
of attention, but I think it was because I was different because I was a girl, and so my mom and I spent a ton of time together. Um, but I don't think that all my siblings would agree that they got a lot of time and attention. I was really into like a lot of extracurricular activities like dance and music, and I was in a lot of like plays and musicals when I was little. That required my parents to take me to rehearsal and be there with me and things like that. So I was with my mom solo a lot.
there's no doubt that I've spent 1,000 times more one-on-one time with Avi than my twins. And
Yeah.
there's it because it was just like, I mean, when my wife, literally the first 3 months after the twins are born, I spent every day with Avi all day and away from my wife. My wife stayed in the house. She never came outside once in 3 months. That's no exaggeration. She did not come
Wow.
outside.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember the first time she came up to the front part of the house. I was like, whoa, what are you doing up here? Your section's back there. Go. And no, I didn't
Wow.
say that there. And we bought our first brand new car that either of us have ever had in our life. And I went out and bought it and I brought it home. It was a minivan. And that was the first time she came out outside. I'm like, do you want to see the car? She's like, I guess. And she came up to the front. Oh, cool.
Well, you go into this like kind of mama bear cave mode for sure. And I mean, Julian's prepping for that right now. Like he knows that when the baby comes, like for the first little bit, like he's single dad of 2 boys, you know?
It's Knox and Banner and him. They roll. They'll
Yeah,
just roll
they'd be
everywhere.
so
And
good though.
yeah, and they will change so much with mama not around. Like Avi all of a sudden manned up. All the crying shit stops, all the fucking complaining about being hungry, like when mom's not around. I mean, literally, I will still to this day, this is a little off subject, be at the dinner table, hanging with them. We're having fun. We're flicking cucumbers. Everything's chill. It's like boy stuff. Some bad words are slipping out of people's mouths. We're doing burpee penalties. And then mom comes home and they'll just start bawling and run to her.
Yeah,
I'm
that
like, you
happens to us too.
assholes. You assholes.
Sometimes he'll have them like downstairs and I can hear that they're eating breakfast and having fun and I won't come down because I know I'll ruin it. Like I know that they'll start being more needy and stuff if I come around. It's so interesting.
Mama. I don't blame them. And they'll straight tell me, like, if we go somewhere in separate cars and I drove them, they'll be like, Mama's driving us back. I'm like, what? You love her more? They're like, uh-huh, I got it. Like, of course you do. It's your fucking mom. So, and I've never spent any time with the twins really.
It's hard to get
alone,
solo time with it. Yeah.
just Joseph or just Ari. It's like, I don't think about it. Maybe I should think about it. But like yesterday, I spent time with just the 2 of them. Haley took Avi somewhere, and I was just with the 2 of them. But I'm never just like take Ari and just be like, hey, let's go play tennis. It's always Ari and Joseph or Ari, Joseph.
You got to do it. You have to, because at some point, like,
is that a mistake? Am I fucking that up?
I mean, maybe not at this age, but when they start to like, our biggest thing that we talk about with them is not assuming that Banner is gonna want to do everything that Knox does, or that he likes everything that Knox does, or that he, you know. So we try to like allow them to develop as individuals, because right now Banner, he does copy Knox a lot, and so trying to get him alone, we have a pretty cool setup. So Knox goes to a Montessori preschool for like 3 hours, 5 days a week, and we did that not because we needed the childcare or anything like that, but to allow him to develop some independence from us.
Smart.
And now when he's there, Julian's mom watches Banner by himself. And eventually Knox will only go there till he's 6, and then we'll be homeschooling him full time, and Banner will go there by himself. And I just started taking Banner to this gymnastics class by himself, and I could feel it. Like, I was thinking, oh, Knox would also love this. And it's like, no, I need Banner to establish like his own personality and his own like self away from Knox. Because it can be easy, I think, especially when you have all three boys, or if you had all three girls, to just like always lump them into like one group and treat them all the same and stuff like that. But we'll try to let them develop their own interests and personalities and stuff apart from each other.
Does Knox end up in your bed every morning?
Oh yeah. And he actually, going back to the birth, he is so pumped. So he's 4.5, and he is ready. Like, the midwives came over yesterday actually, and he was like showing him the bathtub and showing him the bed and saying that like as soon as crew comes out, he's going to take his shirt off so that he can hold him and do skin to skin. And he was telling them that there's going to be blood in the in the bathtub, but it's okay. It's not crew's blood, it's mama's blood, and that it'll hurt mama a little bit, but that's okay. She's going to be okay. Like, he knows it. He is so ready, and he talks to the baby every day and asks him when he's coming out and stuff. It's awesome. But yeah, he comes in our bed at like 5 a.m.
That is awesome. That's a really, really good sign.
Oh yeah, he is pumped.
Yeah. That means you're doing something right with the family, because I shouldn't say this because I haven't experienced it the other way, but it's really cool as the family grows and you feel the family unit. I'm sure you've already seen that. It's blowing your mind when you've seen something happen to Banner and Knox runs over uncued. It's like, yo, what's up? You good?
Are you okay?
Or like if he's trying to get something and Knox will just casually walk by and hand it to him, and you're like, holy shit, this thing is starting to act like.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome.
We're starting to become like a unit.
And the best was the other day, Knox was talking to my belly and he goes, "Crew, I will never hit you. I will never hurt you." And he hits Banner all the time. I was like, what about Banner? And he's like, "Oh, I already hit him." He's like, "It's too late for that." So
when you go out, when you're an 8th grade boy and you go out on the dance floor, you don't go on the dance floor because like you're embarrassed and everyone's staring at you, right? What kind of intimacy is there? You're on all four. There's 2 midwives in the room. Everyone's staring at your vagina. Like your Julian's there. And I know that you love him, and I know that you guys have like an intense relationship, like on all the levels, spiritually, emotionally, superficially. Like, this is a fucking massive relationship you're having. Is there still a point where you have to break through that then too? Like I'm so open with my wife, but I wouldn't want to be on all four with her staring at my asshole. You know what I mean? But there is the point, like after she has the baby, where like I'm like putting the cream on her hemorrhoids, and like I'm like completely embraced her. Like, I shut everything down so she just has the ultimate space and freedom. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want her to feel a second of judgment from me in that. I want to feel like I'm just an appendage of hers.
Right. I would say the first birth, because Julian and I had only been together for like a year when I found out I was pregnant, and then like a year and a half when Knox came. So the first year I was more self-conscious about that kind of thing, because our relationship was still pretty new.
Right.
But then I would say this last time, that's another like benefit of the home birth, and that I wouldn't want to do in the hospital, is like the lights are lower and you're not like in stirrups ever at like any point. And quite honestly, like it's an out of body experience. Like, he remembers way more about those births than I do, for sure. And it's like you turn into like an animal. You really do.
Yeah. She would vanish. During the contractions, I would see her like basically like just go away. Like my wife was gone.
Like, and there's this really cool picture, because we had a photographer and a videographer there for Banner. There's this really cool picture when I was on all fours, and I had like a longer like robe on, so there wasn't like anything like exposed or anything like that. But and he was down on the floor with me, and we're just like making eye contact. And our midwives say it's like one of their favorite pictures they've ever seen. They were like, "You look like you're gonna eat him." Like it's like a crazy like, and it's a really cool, powerful picture. And that's another reason that I'm a huge advocate for unmedicated births. I believe that transformation or that out of body experience, not in a drug induced way, but in like the way that nature was intending it to be, is there's something changes in your brain and in your like spirit or whatever that is necessary to be a mom.
Holy
and there's a
shit. We're gonna get canceled. Careful with that shit.
there's
Careful with that shit.
definitely a time and a place for drugs and surgery and stuff like that, and it's
Good save.
saved a lot of lives. And I would, if my midwife said you need to go have a C-section because the baby's stuck, I would 100% do that and not put the baby in danger. But I do think that there's an evolutionary, like something that happens to you when you're going through the pain and the like struggle of the unmedicated birth that's necessary. And I would say the same thing about like going back to like when I had my knee surgery or my neck surgery. I want, if my neck is hurting or if my knee is hurting, I want to know that it's hurting, like so that I can tell if it's hurting, if now it's hurting worse or now it's feeling better. Or I think numbing it, it's just masking a problem. And I do believe that you heal faster when you're connected to everything. So
you're telling your body to shut the fuck up, and your body's something's communicating to you. There's a problem.
Oh, here he is.
Let's see. There he is. Thanks for sharing your lovely wife with us. Thanks for sharing your lovely wife with us.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. That's another pretty crazy thing that people don't realize, and I don't have it on the level you do, but you are living this dream and you're supposed to be a role model, but yet you still have a real relationship with Julian, meaning divorce isn't an option when you have kids, right? On one level, but like you have this pressure, like I don't let the world see me fight with my wife.
Right.
It's just like I don't let the world see me drink alcohol. I don't drink a lot of alcohol.
Well, you're not going to yell at your kids like to a certain level. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Right. There's things that I hide from the world, but beyond hiding, like let's use Greg as I was going to say, let's use a hypothetical of you and Julian breaking up and what that does to Street Park. But let's use Greg as an example. Him and Lauren started this company together, and then they fucking broke up, and like the whole thing fucking played out in the fucking public's eye, and investors coming in. And it's just like, holy shit. And like, if people don't think that like that pressure is real, like on you, like they're fucking idiots. Like no matter how perfect your relationship is, that there's this there's those 35,000 people.
Yep.
It's like, dude, and it's good. Healthy people will use that to motivate them. I use my kids to motivate me to have a better relationship with my wife every single fucking day. Hey, shut the fuck up. Like, stop being a fucking asshole to her, even if you're 100% right. Shut the fuck. There's no winning there.
Right.
Like, she's forever.
Yeah.
That's like, shut up. Like, why are you telling this story, building a story up against her? Like, you're a fucking moron.
Yeah.
And snip that shit in the bud. It's real, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
the pressure.
100%.
I mean, you told him to come in and kiss you at the 57-minute mark, right?
Yeah, it's all scripted. No, and that's where and I think.
By the way, if you have to pee, you can go and come back. Don't ever feel.
No, I'm good. I peed right before.
Me too. I don't know if that's a good strategy. Let's come back and talk about that.
Really? You think it opens the floodgates or something?
I don't know, but let's come back and talk about that. I want to. This other thing's more interesting. The communal pressure. It
is, and I mean, I had that a little bit even with Tyson, right? Like that was.
Oh, this isn't your first rodeo, of course.
Right. I mean, this is a big.
Even your name, it's hard for me even to switch. Alcaraz.
Right.
So hard.
Oh, that was a whole thing too, where I mean, because and Tyson's new wife is known also, so it's like this very weird thing, and I remember he hit me up and wanted me to stop using Old Droid, and I think it was because it was making his family or maybe Mariah uncomfortable, which I understand, but also I was pregnant and Julian and I felt would eventually get married, so I was like, well, I don't want to change it and then change it again, like
right.
That was an awkward situation. But yeah, it was a similar thing with me and Tyson, because I think people were like, but wait, they're both like so nice, and everybody knows he's like this awesome person, and it was like hard for them to compute the whole thing. And so yeah, that was a similar situation. but Julian and I have been good, at least up until this point. You have to like really focus on it and pay attention to it, to not let anything, any amount of success in the business or financial success or anything become more important than our family and our relationship. And we have to protect that first.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
You have to protect that first.
Yeah.
So you guys, that's the right pecking order. I talked about this the other day. Like there's things that you want to do. And I don't know if this is the exact pecking order, but it's breathe, eat, and then I think it's fuck and then shelter. But I'm open to like moving around, fucking and shelter back and forth. If anything gets in between those, like doing heroin or then you're messed up. Then you're willing to like not have sex, not have shelter, not have food as your desire for those other things. And so what Miranda is saying, the way I'm trying to understand what she's saying is you can't let the success of the business come in between. And with hers in that food and breathing and fucking, there's kids that are like super high up in there too.
I actually feel that I feel very lucky in my relationship with Julian because I learned that through my relationship with Tyson.
Like this guy has sorry to interrupt. This guy has God, spouse, kids, work. Right. I don't know what God is, but yeah, right. I'm good with it.
So I just purpose would be a good replacement for that, I think. If you felt like you needed to replace it, not that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I learned through the break, because Tyson and I were married for 9 years, which is a pretty substantial amount of time, especially I think I was 32 when we broke up. 33?
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
But when we broke up, it was also.
Can you even believe that? Would you can you ever imagine going through a divorce again?
Oh my gosh. I mean, my relationship with Julian is so much different that I can't it would be, and with kids and everything, like, no, it would be crazy. But when we broke up, it was the same year that I tore my ACL at the games. And the day that I tore it was all fine until the ACL tear, when I was like, oh my God, like this was all what was supposed to make it worth it. Like winning the CrossFit Games was what was supposed to make this shit show worth it. And now, like, I was pissed at Dave. We were in a huge fight because of stuff that happened behind the scenes at the games, where they were like basically hiding our team. So I didn't even know. I thought I was going to get fired from my job from working from the seminar staff because we were fighting. And then I had no husband. So I felt like, well, I don't have a job. I don't have a husband. Like, but this winning the games was supposed to be what made it worth it. And now I'm over here with a broken or a torn ACL, and I don't have that. I have nothing. Like I've put all my eggs into baskets that don't matter. And I learned that lesson. That was like a dark couple of weeks. It's why I moved. Like I felt uncomfortable going into NorCal CrossFit because I felt so guilty. I felt like it was my fault and all this stuff. And so that's why I moved away. And I'm really lucky that I learned that, because it's a valuable lesson that it's like, no amount of success, no amount of like people thinking that you're great or this or that matters, because that stuff can all go away so easily and so quickly. And then you're left with like, why did I just give everything up for that?
When I got fired from CrossFit, one of the first things I said to my wife within 24 hours, I walked into the kitchen. I think she was in there. I was still like fucking like having an out of body experience. Like I was like, I cannot believe I don't work there. Like, and I didn't even like, when I would go in my brain, like to see if I was sad or happy, it was like in protection mode. It would just go quiet. You know, I was in total shock. And I go to my wife, I said, hey, if shit gets really weird, I don't want to sell this house no matter what. Can we just move into a van with the kids? And my wife looks at me and goes, oh yeah, whatever you want. And I was just like, I just felt like, and as absurd as that was, I just felt like, I could see like the getaway car. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, yes.
Oh, that's so true. I mean, we've been like that too, because Julian comes from a very humble beginnings. Like him and his mom and dad and his brother all used to sleep in the same bed. You know what I mean? Like his parents both came from Mexico, like as teenagers on their own, and
so he's not afraid. He knows.
No, but our house that I'm in right now, that we live in, is the same house that we got when we moved here and had 5,000 members, and now we have 35,000. And our biggest thing was like, we got to pay off this house, because then he could go work at Costco and I could go work at Starbucks, and we could still live in this house and we have it for the boys. And so like,
and that's absurd, right? Because you have so many other backup plans before it comes to that.
Yeah,
you still have to have that one. Yes.
Yeah. Anytime I see it, I've always been the person where if I see a now hiring sign, it's like a sense of comfort for me, because I'm pretty confident I could get a job at CVS,
or like at Pete's Coffee. Oh, $20 an hour. Shit, I could do that.
Yeah.
How many L1s did you teach?
I know it was over 300.
I was realizing recently that just makes you, just imagine the training, the non-intentional training you get as a world-class speaker, being able and willing to take any question. I mean, you've heard the most absurd questions. You've heard people put you on the spot in the weirdest way. You've been in the room with the creepiest people, the coolest people, and you were just, that wasn't even the intention, right? But you have that. Right. Do you feel that? Are you like, holy shit, I'm good? I went in there green as fuck, and now I'm like, fuck, I'll go on the Sevan podcast. You let that little fuck try to ask me something crazy.
You know what it is, where you become really confident is when you have the confidence to have the answer be, I don't know.
Dude, dope.
That's like a level of confidence that, because at first you feel like if they ask me and I'm in this position of like authority, I need to know the answer. And so people just make shit up, right? Or they like fumble around with it or whatever. A really confident person in a situation is somebody that's like, you know what? I don't know the answer to that question. Even if it's something that maybe based on my education I should know, being able to say I don't know, because no one knows everything, and people appreciate when you're just honest about that. But it took me a while to get to that point.
I don't want to say a fucking thing nice about Andy Stumpf, but here it comes. I was at an L1, and man, he's a great speaker. Fuck,
oh my gosh, so funny. And so, yeah.
Yes, so engaging, so funny. Man, I really like him. It sucks that I don't like him, because I really like him. But he's speaking in front of the crowd, and he's like, and it was in San Diego, I don't think 2008, and he basically says, there's no you're gonna be able to correct me, but he's basically talking about that there's no joint that just has single articulation or something like that. I forget what the line is, and that's why you don't do curls. You don't isolate. No joint ever does anything in isolation.
Yes.
And some guy raises his hand from the back, and Andy's like, yeah. And he's like, well, what about the jaw? And then he's like, God, oh shit. Yes, sorry. And then he just like owns it and goes back and redoes it. And he's like, there's only one joint in the body that does a single movement articulation. Like he just owned it, didn't defend it, didn't stumble, just embraced it. The whole crowd laughed. It's like, yeah, okay. It was cool.
Another skill that you pick up is hearing the same question 300 times, because there are certain questions that are just asked to every single one, and still giving the person respect to, first of all, finish their question, and then giving them an answer that seems like it's the very first time that anyone's ever asked you that. That's a skill. And I mean, that's a skill that helps with parenting big time, where you're just like letting them finish their long run-on question or sentence. That's definitely something that I learned at the seminars also.
I was raised to be just like pro-choice. You never tell a woman what to do with her body. It was just like a really strong thing that was pounded into me. And with no articulation of like how to think, like, hey, but like, even if they were going to give me a stance, like, hey, this is why it should be like this, because of the Constitution or because people's bodies, like, just know this is the answer. Run with it. Hold this sign and stand in that corner. Shut the fuck up. And then as I got older, I remember someone saying to me like, hey, this is such a serious issue between possibly harming babies and not letting women choose over their own bodies, that it has to be every time someone asks you that question, if you have a canned response, you're doing everyone a disservice. You should rethink this. And I really like that as an example. And now that I've even gotten older, I'm like, are those even like on even a deeper level? Are those really even the issues? We're told that it's like killing a baby versus women's rights. Maybe that's not even thinking about it correctly. Maybe there's even a whole nother way to think about it. and it's just a trip. And as parents, we have an obligation to do that for our kids, not tell them what to think, but teach them how to think.
Yes. Yeah.
And what does it
That's a
mean to
big
set
one.
what does it mean to set precedent to let women hurt babies or abort babies that aren't necessarily babies, or whatever your stance is? Or what are the implications of putting laws on women's bodies? Now, are they going to force injections? Like,
Right.
what are the implications? You want to save babies, but now you're okay with everyone having to be forced injection because it's the same. And it's like you have to give people the tools to think about it, especially our kids.
Yeah.
I'll leave that subject alone now.
Yeah, we'll leave that subject alone for sure.
What do you think?
But I agree with you.
What do you do you and Julian own street parking?
Yes.
And who else owns it?
No one.
Please. Who else owns street parking?
I mean, I guess the members pay for it, but no one.
So if I went to the city and I looked up who owns the trademark street parking, you own it.
Oh, yeah.
And do you ever think about what the implications of that are?
Like, what do you mean?
Like we don't know who we don't know who owns CrossFit.
No, we don't now. No, we don't.
And we used to know who owned it. It was Greg. And you could
People
throw all
think
the
they
rocks
know
at
who
him you
owns it,
wanted.
but they don't.
Yes. And it's just it's fascinating to me that you own this thing. I want to really emphasize to people how, if you're a member of street parking, you already bathe in it, and you probably don't even know what you're bathing in. You feel it, you smell it, you experience it. It's your family, it's your blood, it's real. It's just all real. Okay, let me think of some examples. Like, someone could come to you right now and be like, hey, can you incorporate this rubber band into all the workouts? Then all 40,000 people who do street parking will buy it. We'll make $20 profit in all of them overnight. We'll make $800,000. So someone can come to you and say that to you. And then you can be like, that we don't really have a use for that rubber band. We already have this rubber band. Why would we sell? But this one, it's okay. This one's red and it'll have your name, and we can get them to buy it. Right. And you can make the decision to do that or not.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone can either be, thank you for putting this in there. I love having this new red band hanging in our garage. They can be like, this bitch is milking us. Or they can come up with any conclusion they want. But they got you and Julian to like, these other companies don't have that. They have to sell the red rubber band at all costs, or else they're breaking the law to their investors. They have an obligation.
I know that you reposted that comment that I made on the Morning Chalk Ups.
Yes.
Story about Dave and I. One of the things that I put in
Hold on 1 second. Sorry, before you hold that thought. Will you put that back up a second, Caleb? We are only doing street parking because of Miranda and Julian. Street parking is synonymous.
Oh.
Yeah. See, so there's people used to say they have to act like it's not about them, and they have to proceed. They have to ignore you guys. But you guys also, we all know why you're doing it. I can tell why you're doing it too. I go to the thing because someone has to keep it real. In midwifery, they call it the person who's keeping the space. That's the enormous pressure. And if you're a street parking member, I know it's hard not to put that pressure on Julian and Miranda, but you should never let the master know they are your master. You should release them and set them free of that pressure. You should not be judging the master. I'm getting fucking emotional. Okay, sorry. Will you, Kayla, will you bring up that that if you can find it? I think it's on. I should have sent that to you. Sorry, Caleb. That's my fault. Go ahead, Miranda. It's the post you made about Dave. Yeah.
One of the things that I said in that long comment that I felt I just needed to stick up for my friend and somebody who had helped me grow so much was that I understand as a business owner in the fitness space, I understand the opportunity over authenticity, like things that are there. Like we've been hit up by multiple companies that they offered to make us our own supplement line. We get hit up by brands all the time of, hey, let us make you equipment. Let us make you this. Let us take over this, or let's co-brand this or that or whatever. And the problem is that we believe as soon as we lose our message, we lose street parking. and I know you feel the same way, and I feel the same way about CrossFit, where our message is you only need a pair of dumbbells at the foot of your bed, and that's all you need. And
That
as
is the
soon as,
message.
I mean, in that's not like the words that we use, but yeah, it's being in control of your fitness and knowing that it's simple and you can do it no matter what. Even if you don't have the dumbbells, you could still do it, right? And we are
Like if you were in prison. Do you have any members who are in prison?
Oh my gosh, no, but I've joked about how that would be the perfect place for street parking. And it doesn't even need to be a joke. Like I've had family members in jail who my brother was in jail for a while and I know he worked out while he was in there. Like it's a real demographic that could benefit from it from a mental aspect, if nothing else. So yeah, that might be an opportunity for us at some point. But there's also a demographic that we are very we're very much never wanting to feel like we're abandoning them. And people tell us all the time, based on where we started and what we offer now in terms of the amount of programming, the quality of our platform and everything, we could charge way more than we do. Because we've never raised our prices in 5 years, even though we've added so much.
You've lowered them actually a little bit. You've given better deals.
We have like some ways that they can get it cheaper by like buying a few months at a time or for service members and things like that. But part of the reason that we chose the price point that we did was because there's a demographic of people who the reason that they don't go to the gym isn't because they wouldn't love to go to a gym. It's because they can't afford it and they won't ever be able to afford $150 or $200 a month for a CrossFit gym. And they still need this information. They still need this type of training and guidance and coaching. So if we raised our prices or if we made them feel like they needed to buy our supplement line to be successful, or they needed to buy this equipment just because it's got a key on it to be successful, then that doesn't align with our actual like vision of why we started in the first place, was to help people. And so we do stuff like that. I mean, we sell a ton of apparel, and
as you should. I remember wanting to buy a CrossFit hat in 2007 and asking Greg and Lauren if they would do that, and they said no. And I was so frustrated. Let people rep their shit. People want to rep their shit.
We'll put street parking on some equipment and stuff like that, probably eventually. But it will never be with a messaging of like, you need this or you can't do the programming. Like there will always be a program where if you only have a pair of dumbbells, you'll be able to follow it. And we will never make you feel like that's like the less ideal program. And if you had all this stuff, then you would see better results. And we'll never say that.
This company here, Ancestral Supplements, I'm wearing their shirt right here.
So we have some of their stuff.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
So, and do you open the capsules?
I eat my own placenta, so.
Do you open the capsules and put it on your kids' food?
We haven't done that yet. I did that a little bit. I had some stuff that I would do with like some liver supplement or an organ supplement with Knox. But our kids, when they're little, before their teeth are really all the way in, we feed them straight up liver, not raw, but.
Do you think that? And do you think that made them more open to it now?
Yeah, I mean,
like you acclimated them to that disgusting taste.
We don't feed it to them so much now that they can chew and eat like steak and things like that. But Knox loved liver when he was little.
How did you know to do that? Who told you that?
I think it's just like reading stuff. Research, I guess. Yeah, I can't like pinpoint like a specific book or anything, but.
I'm not interested in making any assumptions about Eric, as I don't know him at all. And he's right that he can definitely do whatever he wants, and clearly he has his own vision for CrossFit. But here are my 2 cents about Dave. His vision is his ability to collaborate and his leadership from a perspective of I'm screwing this all up. Reading this like ass. Let me start again. Do you want to read it? Do you want to read it?
I can't see it. It's too small because I'm on my phone.
Okay. Here we go. But here are my 2 cents about Dave. His vision, his ability to collaborate, and his leadership from a perspective of a former affiliate owner, a flow master who worked over 300 seminars, CrossFit Games athlete, and someone who was involved in planning and executing the game season at every stage. Okay, so do you see what we've established there? And I'll vouch for that. there were few people closer to Dave in the business and professional aspects as Miranda. She saw it all from the consumer to being part of the team at the highest level. Dave is a former Navy SEAL. His leadership style reflects that. There are no compliment sandwiches and feeling talks. He gets results by holding you to a very high standard. Guys, I talked to Miranda. The last time I fucking talked to her was when on the podcast I had her on. And we have the exact same view. Do you see this? There are no compliment sandwiches and feeling talks. He gets results by holding you to a high standard, a very high standard, and rewarding effort and attitude and action. That's another thing that people should be very aware of. Dave is huge about rewarding effort.
Mm-hmm.
Dave held the original vision of CrossFit Fitness in 100 words. I can't imagine what kind of ideas these corporate people are pitching, that this is about money and not all about the message. I understand this opportunity over authenticity is fit in fitness a lot as a successful fitness business owner myself. I think we've talked about that in the show a bunch. It really is, on one level, it's an intangible, and another thing, it's so fucking real. Her and Julian own the company. If you're never sure what's going on, just remember that, and eventually the answer will come to you. I'm telling you, just meditate on that versus not knowing who owns it. And people owning it who are investors and not CrossFitters. People who own it who are street parkingers, but not. It's nuts. Like she shows you herself doing the workout every day, half naked with a baby, and people interrupting her, and in her fucking kitchen not wanting to make dinner. Also, for those saying all he did was program, is quite possibly the funniest thing I've ever read. The amount of planning and preparation that goes into an event like the CF Games is beyond comprehension. Do people showed up for Dave? These are my words, not Miranda's. They showed up for him. I mean, it was crazy for him. Not to mention his years of leading the worldwide seminar staff with Nicole Carroll, who deserves. You guys cannot believe the leadership between the two of them was insane. My biggest and Dave is so open to feedback, by the way, like crazy open to feedback. Would you agree, Miranda?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was not often in a position to give him a lot of feedback, but he would ask for it.
Yeah, he would ask for it. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you would come off the field and he'd be like, so tell me what you thought about that workout. And if you were like, hey, this needs to be changed, he wouldn't be like, you're stupid. He would be like, okay, noted.
Yeah.
My biggest confusion is simply that Dave has always been Dave. Eric knew Dave's public persona when he purchased CrossFit. Finally, I feel lucky to have had leadership that didn't coddle me, was willing to tell me my ideas were shit, tell me what I needed to do. Anyway, thanks for doing that. I mean, as like that, so many, like probably 20 people sent me that, and I was like, yeah, that's it. I mean, basically the thing is I describe Dave as a ball of fire and we're all steel. And if you go stand close to him, he'll fucking like fire you up and sharpen your shit. And, but it's work. It's work.
Yeah. And
one last thing. And once you have someone treat you like Dave, you never want anyone else in your life. Because the rest of them are just full of shit.
See what happens. Yeah.
Yes. You want just honesty.
The reason that I posted that was not, people had the opportunity to like chime in or whatever and get attention. I imagined a scenario where we did sell street parking and then someone came in and fired me and comments on Morning Chalk Up or wherever they might show up of people saying like, oh, well, all she did was program the workouts. I would end up in jail. Like I would lose my shit if people said that my contribution to street parking was the workouts. And it's not, I mean, yes, I program most of the daily workouts, but it's a skill and a talent that I feel very proud of. But to minimize his role in the CrossFit Games to, like he just makes the workouts, like how hard can it be? First of all, it's very hard. Second, that people were saying that and thought that, like, as somebody who has given me so much and somebody who I consider my friend, I just couldn't let that be out there without saying something. And if that happened to me and none of our employees that we have now said like, oh, like actually she did a lot more than just create the workouts. Like there was so much more that you guys have no idea about. If nobody said anything and was willing to stand, that would be really painful for me, I think. And so I just put myself in that position and I was like, I can't, even if people get pissed about this, which actually nobody did, I can't not say something.
If you're in the CrossFit leadership still, if you're on the executive team, if you're on the board, you should listen to what Miranda just said. Listen very carefully, please. I mean this in the kindest way possible. There are people seething who can't say a thing who work at CrossFit, and there's a ton of them. And it's the new guard, it's the old guard. They are so pissed because they can't say anything.
You know, it's funny. I'll tell this story. I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but I've spoken with Dave since all of that. And I brought this story up to him. So when I left CrossFit, there were a couple reasons. Number one, because of what we talked about before, I was in this relationship with Julian and I really wanted it to work. This was before I was pregnant or anything like that. And the travel, I knew what that does to a relationship, especially a new relationship. And so I didn't want to travel as much anymore. So that was like kind of part of it. But then there was this new, and this was under Greg, so we can't blame, anyone else for this, or I don't know if they had hired, there was like another CEO there for a while. What was his name?
I don't want to say his name. He's a complete douchebag. I never say his name on the show. He's a pile of shit. He's a horrible human being. And let me just say this relative to this. Like, I could have a beer with this guy and everything would be okay. It's not like he molested my kids. I mean, whenever I say anything bad about someone, you have to understand I contextualize stuff. Like if this guy was broken down on the side of the road, I would still stop and help him. Like, anyway, guys, I just wanted to be clear about that. But
okay, so they came out with this new like non-compete agreement that they wanted all of the trainers to sign, and within it said that if I created a new company, that CrossFit would own at least part of the company or something, like, and I had to sign and agree to that. And I didn't, street parking wasn't even an idea in my mind, at least not to my conscious mind. So it wasn't like, oh, well, I'm planning on starting this thing and I don't want CrossFit to own it in case it blows up and someday I have 35,000 members. Like, that wasn't something that but I knew that I'm entrepreneurial, like, in spirit, and I'm always having ideas and stuff like that. So because of those two things combined, I was just like, hey, like, I think it's time for me to stop. And Dave, actually, we didn't live too far away from each other at the time. So we met at a Starbucks, like, in between. And he like looked at me as my friend and as this person who had done so much for me and said, we would never like come after you if you created something. And I said to him, I know you wouldn't. I go, but what if you get fired? What if you leave? And at the time that sounded crazy to say, but I'm so glad that
you're such a conspiracy theorist. You're so paranoid. Paranoid.
Yeah, I was like, what if you get fired? And he probably was like, okay, like,
fuck you, bitch. I'm here forever.
Yeah. But I mean, can you imagine if I would have been like, okay, Dave, and signed it, and now CrossFit would have a contractual, I mean, they would own street parking whenever.
Parking brought to you by Berkshire Hathaway, or by whatever the fuck their name is.
And so I took like a huge, massive pay cut when I stopped working seminars. And
you were top of the food chain there. I mean, you were the shit at CrossFit. You'd done it all. Like, you could go anywhere. You knew everyone. Like you could swim in any department. Like, everyone knew you. Like, you'd flow master.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I reminded him of that conversation, and I think about it all the time.
What do you think your peers think about what you've done? Like, are there people on the seminar stuff like, oh shit?
I talk to a lot of them.
You do?
Yeah, I'm like, Nadia and I are still close. I still hear from Lisa Ray sometimes.
Good people.
Spiel, I still have a good relationship with Spieler. And EC, actually, I have a lot of interaction with EC.
Amazing.
Like that old.
You do have a lot of interaction with her?
Not as the original crew, but like like the old school crew. Yeah.
Hold on, stand by. Someone just gave me money. My kids are going to go skating today. We're going to eat lunch. Kostas Anapoulos, €50. I think that's a lot of money. That's like an hour of private lessons in jiu-jitsu. Awesome
Nice.
Wadapalooza coverage, but love for these type of conversations, and Miranda rocks. You know what's crazy is like I have 3 pages. I have notes. Like I told myself I was not going to prepare for this podcast, and I prepare for every podcast. And then at like 9:00 last night, I stayed up till midnight preparing for this podcast. And we have not talked about anything I prepared for, but I'm stoked. I'm still stoked. Do you know that feeling?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Anna Palusis. Is this a member of yours? Costas Antonop. Is that a real last name? Is that a city?
Antonopoulos.
Thank you.
I
She
think,
speaks and reads people.
We have a lot of foreign members, that's for sure.
What were we talking about? Being. Oh, what? So you gave everything up.
Yeah.
Yes. So you gave everything up.
Mm-hmm.
All the success, all the prestige of your position, the paycheck.
Yeah.
All to protect street parking, which you didn't even know existed.
Yeah,
Still was
and
in the ether.
I started helping. Julian owned a meal prep company at the time.
Oh, sorry. We were talking about the people who you talked to, and you were on EC. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep. EC. I talked to her, like we interact just through like DM and stuff like that quite a bit. Chase Ingram said reach out to me after I made that post about Dave. I mean, I feel like I have a good relationship. I don't regularly.
You better not say any more names like that. You're just gonna start burying
all of
people.
them. I mean, he's posted some stuff about it too. So, but yeah, I still talk to. I mean, we traveled the world together. I was with these people more than anyone. I was on 12-hour flights with them and in foreign countries, like trying to figure out where we were going and everything. It was crazy.
This company, Ancestral Supplements, I took their supplements, and I've been for like over a year. I've been reaching out to the guy. When I was doing the Meet the Parents podcast, he's a father, the owner of the company, and I wanted him to come on and talk about raising kids. I liked what he was doing with his kids. It was kind of hard to find, and they said no, he's not going to be on podcasts at this time. And the guy's Instagram account had like at the time like 200 followers, and I think now he's cresting over 1 million. I think like
wow.
he's just exploded, but. So then I said, hey, do you want to give me some money? I just texted him, do you want to give me some money to help me cover Wadapalooza? Like low stress, but if you want to, that would be cool. I'm going to try doing this experimental way of covering an event. I'm going to do a live behind the scenes. So I had people roaming around there with iPhones, and then I had all the windows on my screen. I'd be like, go to camera 2, go to camera 3. And like you'd be in Rich's hotel room, or you just be in different places, right? And it was cool. And so this guy, he's like, yeah, I threw some cash at it. And I go, hey, do you want me to push your supplements? And he goes, no. He goes, this guy right here.
I didn't know he was
$1 million.
the owner. Is he the owner of Ancestral Supplements?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I said he crossed over 1 million. Holy cow. So basically they said, no, we're not selling supplements. Like that's not our promotion. I go, what's the promotion? And it reminded me so much of what you're saying, what Greg's saying. Our promotion is just to eat organ meat.
Like,
and then if you're fucking too much,
if you need to, or just
if you're a pussy, and that's why you hardly ever see him selling it on his Instagram.
Yeah, because I knew that guy was tied to it, but I didn't know he was the owner.
Oh, he's so cool. He's so nice.
We've talked about him a lot lately, actually.
When he writes me emails, I can't believe how well he writes. Sorry. Go ahead, Miranda.
He's just really funny. I mean. On some level, okay. So on some level, he's got to be. He's playing. Not that any of what he's doing is like super duper fake or anything like. Like he really believes all this stuff and everything. But some of the stuff that he does, it's like a little bit of a caricature of himself, right?
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. That's like my whole. I was telling Julian, I was like, he doesn't actually like climb the rope to eat meat on a daily basis, but like that's.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a caricature of himself.
Yeah. And I don't even think he's trying to claim that.
No, and people that think that he's trying to claim that are just not
they're goofball. They're like, there's nuance there. It's just like this person when I come on this podcast, it's me magnified by 10. This isn't how I am.
Of course.
Like I walk on the beach and I don't say a fucking word, and I just look at my kids and I'm like goo goo gaga. This is just where I come and throw a temper tantrum, or, I mean, it's like what we were saying before. Like there's stuff I hide from like at my kid's birthday party. I don't post me personally. I don't post myself eating my kid's cake. Because I'm the no sugar, no refined carbohydrates is the cure to everything guy.
Right. You know, that's something that Nicole taught us on the seminar staff is it's like, don't try to be Andy. Like you're not Andy. You can't try to be like but you need to be a bigger version of yourself during those times. And that's something that we tell our staff all the time, especially the coaches that are on the demo videos and interacting with the members on YouTube videos and things like that. It's like, don't try to be me. Don't try to be Julian. Just be a little bit of a bigger version of yourself. Like amplify who you really are. So, but yeah, that guy does a really good job of that.
There's people out there. Have you ever picked up a hitchhiker?
No. You can't pick up hitchhikers as a female. Come on.
Yeah, you can't, huh?
No.
What about a female hitchhiker?
I don't think that I would pick up a hitchhiker at all nowadays. Like it's just too. I have kids.
Well, now you have kids. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There was a old lady I had seen around town, and it was raining the other day, and she was at a bus stop. It was really cold. It was probably like 40 degrees. It was drizzling, which is weird for California because usually when it's raining, it'll be like 50 degrees. We don't get like rain and cold here like you guys get there. Like if it's raining, that means there's cloud cover and it warms up a little bit. And so it's like 40 degrees and it's drizzling, and I'd seen her around town. She's an older lady, and she's hard of hearing because I've said hi to her before, and she's a little bit of a mess. She's sitting at this bus stop, and I got my 3 kids in the car, and I drive past her, and it's raining, and I'm just like, oh fuck. Circle around the block. There's the thing, like, am I just the fucking creep weirdo, right? Like I'm stopping at but I'm like, I got my kids with me. You know what I mean? So how creepy can I be? And I stop at the bus stop and I go, hey, and she goes, hi. And I'm like, do you want to ride? Where are you going? She goes, oh, it's all totally. And she tells me this part of town that's like not where I'm going at all. And she's like, no, you don't have to. You're going this way. I'm going this way. And I go, no, I'm actually going that way. I lied to her. She's like, oh, okay. She got in the car and I drove her, and I felt so good about it. I was like, yeah, I did good. And this world is so weird that like the only reason why it was okay is because she's an old lady and because I'm a dude who has 3 kids and little kids in the car.
Oh yeah, because otherwise both of you would be like questioning the intentions of the other person.
Yeah. And really it was just like my sole thing is like, that sucks and I can fix that.
Mm-hmm. I've definitely thought about it. I see people, because it rains here constantly. I see people walking in the rain, or kids walking home from school, where it's like,
yeah, you can't stop and help a kid. You're fucked. You're going to jail.
When I was a 12-year-old girl, I would love to have had somebody give me a ride, if I was walking in the rain, but you can't.
No.
You know what? We read these.
And as a parent, I don't want anyone stopping and helping my kid either. Fuck you.
No,
keep driving.
Walk in the rain. We read these books, and one of them that Knox really loves is about, it's like a stranger danger book with this little dragon that the kid's teaching his dragon how to be safe around strangers. We taught Knox that if a stranger asks him his name, because in the book it says just to ignore them completely, but we taught him how to say no hablo. Well, he speaks Spanish. Both of our kids are bilingual, and so we just said, if somebody asks you your name and it's somebody that you don't know, just say no hablo inglés. And so that's what he does. It's so funny.
I love it.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do today? What you're on the same time I am, right? It's 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do today after this?
I'll probably work from home today. Like I said, we got a new office and it's really nice. It's really cool. But a few days a week, I still got to work from home because when I go there, it's a lot of, hey, do you have a second? Or can I talk to you real quick? Or can we have a meeting about this really quick? And it's hard for me to get into like a flow for creating workouts or creating newsletter type content and things like that. So I'll probably work from home today. And then the one like bougie, like well-off person thing that I do that's like I'm a little bit embarrassed about, but I don't wash my own hair. I have a lot of hair.
How often do you wash your hair?
Once a week. I go to this place that they wash it and they blow dry it and they do it, and I sit on my computer and work the whole time. It was kind of like a cost benefit analysis that I did, and if I do all of that, first of all, I probably won't do it and it won't look very good, and I'm on camera almost every day.
Yep. So it's tax deductible.
Yes, exactly. So I go
I
every
love
Thursday,
this.
and on my rest day, because today's a rest day for me, and I'll go get my hair washed, and then when I come home, our photographer who doesn't live here full time, he's in town, and he's gonna come take pictures. I gotta fucking cook the dinner tonight. It's dinner. It's the recipe night. Um, so I'm doing
I
that
like how
tonight.
you lean in like, okay, everyone, don't listen to this. I'm going to tell Sevan a secret now.
uh, I haven't even decided what I'm gonna make yet, but our photographer is gonna come and get some pics of our family. I've never done like the maternity photos. Like, have you seen these photos where people will get like a ball gown and they're like standing in a lake and they're like, and I'm like, where are you gonna put that? Like, that's so
Well
like,
said. Well described.
yeah. And they're beautiful. The women look beautiful, but it seems very forced and inauthentic to me, I guess. So he's gonna come take pictures while crew is still in my belly with the boys running around and me cooking dinner and just here in our home. Um, some more candid shots.
Do you ever
So
feel like
that
there's too many people in your house?
always.
Like,
So
dude,
one of
why
the
is that?
reasons,
Why is that hallway being painted on a Saturday? Who the fuck is that fixing
oh,
why is there someone in the yard mowing it right now? When can I walk around naked here?
so there are a lot of things that I'm still learning whether or not they are because Julian is Mexican and it's part of their culture, or because Julian's Julian
Racist.
and he's just
Racist.
himself. So, for example, when we first started dating, he had this meal prep company, and it was him and his brother, and they did it out of their house, which was illegal in California, but they did it. And there would be just like a bowl of all the different meats that they had made that week, any that they didn't use to put in the meals, and it would just be in their fridge uncovered, and they would pull from it to eat. And I never said this is disgusting because
I love it.
Julian was one of the first people. I mean, I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, right? And my other Mexican people that I knew were Dave Castro and Garrett Fisher, and like not real Mexicans, you know?
Oh,
And
racist,
and
racist.
so I was like, this has got to be like a cultural thing where they just, they throw all the meat in a bowl and they put it in. So I never said anything. And then over time, I learned that that wasn't true. I can't remember how I figured out that that was just them being gross men in their 20s.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I always thought that was like a Mexican thing, and I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to like offend you that this is gross. But one of the things is that people just show up at our house all the time. Relatives, random cousins, uncles, workers. Like
And
right
anyone
now,
come in
there
a
are
lowrider? Anyone come in a lowrider?
no, not no. I mean, his cousin's kind of like that. His cousin is awesome. He might be listening right now, so I won't out him. But Alex, his cousin, I freaking love him so much. He's got some interesting tattoos. Anyway, but right now, outside of my front door, which is like literally like 15 feet away, there are two of these Mexican dudes that are painting the front of our doorway.
Yeah, I
And
know.
there's always people here like that. And yeah, but one of the reasons that we got our office is because for 5 years we filmed everything at our house. So anything that needs to be filmed, even if we're not in it, means that there are people in our garage
Oh,
filming.
oh.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
it is a lot.
Excuse me, Julian, we're gonna have to fight later. There's people coming over. Hi, sweetheart.
Oh, we have, I mean, our
You guys are like in
because
an epic fight, and someone comes in, you're like, hi, like you're hiding
oh,
a dead body.
we have fought in front of cleaning people. We have fought in front of our employees. I've had like meltdowns and had to like apologize to the employees like several times because I mean, they're
I feel
at
like I
our
have to
house. Yeah.
apologize to my kids every day. Don't do what dad just did there. I'm really sorry. Honey, I'm sorry. Haley, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and his mom lived with us. So when we first moved in together and I was pregnant with Knox, his mom lived with us and we were starting street parking and oh my gosh, yeah. And one of our friends lived with us for a while when we first moved here. It was a lot. It's there's always been way too many people in our house, yes.
I need to have you on more often. I'm making all sorts of money. I feel very fortunate that Miranda was my flow master at my L1 in 2012. She left a lasting impression. My family have been street parking members for a few years now. Absolutely love it.
Thank you, Eli.
Eli Arnau.
He gave you $20. That's as much as his whole month of membership.
I'm building up. This is quite the posse that this podcast is getting kind of crazy.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah. I mean, I have to brag to somebody.
I think it was you trying to convince me to actually schedule a time to come on because we've been trying to get
Yes.
it for like months.
Hey, there's a doctor I asked to come on the other day. She has like 300,000 followers, and she just said straight up, she said, can you show me your metrics?
I mean, I think that's great. You got to,
Totally.
again, like cost
Yes.
benefit analysis.
Yes. And she's I'm doing the more popular shows first. And I sent her to him. She goes, okay, cool. Let's schedule it in a week or whatever. I'm like, all right.
Nice.
I want to go back to the thing that where you pay someone to wash your hair while you work. And I want to tell two quick stories. There's this thing where people say, hey, that's a waste of money. And I used to talk like that too. And it really just screams of how stupid you are and how ignorant you are. So like recently I saw this thing, the state of California is wasting $16 billion on re-election. You do not, it's like when people say you wasted time, you can't do that. You could have spent your time wisely, but you have no control over time. You're not wasting it. You're not creating it. You ain't doing shit. You're living a delusion when you think that. It's hard to get your head wrapped around, but that shit's just going. The illusion of time is coming and going, and it's all in your control what to do there. You can come on my show. You can not come on my show. You can smoke heroin. You can do whatever you want. The same thing is true with wasting money. You think that if they spend $16 billion on campaigns, it's a waste of money. You think that if someone goes to get their hair washed, it's a waste of money. Do you think the lady who washes Miranda's hair thinks it's a waste of money when she takes that check from Miranda and then uses it to buy her son socks? Do you think that lady thinks it's where and when did it become a waste of money? I really want to know. Because you don't like the way it's spent, because you think that she should have done what with it? And fuck this lady and her kid out of a new pair of socks? It's cold in Washington. It's just nuts how people think that. Like, I bought a Bentley and it's a waste of money. Do you want to tell that to the guy who washes only high-end cars and uses that to put his kid through college? Like, shut up. You're in the thinking world, you're an insect. You're a selfish insect. You're like a mosquito. Stop. Go out there and work and waste your own money, waste your own time. That way you can tip the shit out of the cute boy who says thank you to you at Starbucks. You can give him a $5 tip and change his life.
I think where I get going back to that like pressure that we have for like our persona to be a certain thing for people so that they can latch onto our message or whatever. I think the reason that I feel weird about that is because then it's easy for people to be like, oh, well, she doesn't even wash her own, like she's high maintenance and she's privileged or whatever because she has money, and like you don't really know what it's like for me. And in many cases I don't, because I'm not a single parent who struggles to make ends meet and things like that. So I'm the first to admit that I don't know what that's like, but people have a tendency to not want to listen to the advice or wisdom or whatever I am giving that has nothing to do with the fact that I get my hair washed. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to fitness and nutrition because of the years of experience and everything. And I will simplify it to you to the point where you can do it even if you are the single mom who has very limited time and very limited resources. But as soon as somebody learns, well, she goes and gets a blowout, which is what it's called when you go get your hair washed and done, then it's like I can't relate to her anymore. Like she doesn't get me. And so it's like this weird balance of like living my life the way that I want to live it. And we are very simple in most ways, but that's like one of those bougie things that I do, that I get a little bit nervous about people finding out about little things like that, because then they immediately like don't trust you anymore because you're this bougie whatever person. So it's weird.
My mom was an attorney, and she was charging $400 an hour, and she was very successful, and she couldn't stop the clients pouring in. She kept raising the rates to stop the clients from pouring in, and they kept fucking pouring in. And we go to the Apple store one day, which was in Walnut Creek, California, and my mom lived in Benicia, California, which is like a 15-mile ride, and then there's a toll over the bridge, which is $5, and the price of gas. And we went to the Apple store there, and she bought a computer or something. And I said, Mom, you should get that mouse right there or something with it. And it was like a $40 mouse. And the guy said, hey, why don't you test this out first? And then if you like it or don't like it, then you can come back and get the mouse. And my mom listened to him. And I go, no, put the mouse in there. And my mom said, why? I'm like, you charge $400 an hour. This trip took 2 hours. The gas is $10. The bridge each is $5. Like, if you don't want that, like, I'm telling you that there's a good chance you want this. And if you don't, then we can bring it back or we can figure something else out. But this guy was like, people are doing different things too. Don't project your world onto what other people are doing. Like, if this can save Miranda 30 minutes so that she can read a book every night to her son, or if it buys this other lady a pair of socks, like, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Another thing that I trip on too is that I've met a lot of people. I spent a lot of time in Africa, and I remember speaking to this guy there one time, and he's like, hey, I would, it's cool that in America you can borrow money to buy a house. And this guy lived literally in a cardboard hut with a corrugated steel. It was a trip that the cardboard could hold it up. I think it was in Malawi. And I tried to explain to him, there's a ton of great things in America, but how many people do we know, Miranda, that at 30 years old buy a house, get a 30 years mortgage on it, and put their head down and work, and then look up at 60?
Oh yeah. And
is that living?
Like status quo.
Yeah. Is that living? Not to me. Not to me.
It's just like the path that requires the least amount of not effort. It's not that it's not hard to do that, because it's, you got to go to work and you got to be responsible and show up, and you can't become a drug addict, to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess some people can.
Well, you can. You can get drunk every weekend and get fat and watch the Super Bowl and microwave
so
your
it's
shit.
hard in certain ways, but it's also easy because it's just accepted and it's normal, and you don't have to think outside the box, or there's a lot less risk involved in just going with what's been shown to work, I guess, if that's the word you want to use.
I asked someone the other day who was on the podcast, why'd you get married? And their response was, because you're supposed to.
Oh. I
was fucking like, well, I'm not prepared to. I guess I'm not a great podcaster. I'm not prepared to respond to that. I was just like, I think I said, what do you mean you're supposed to? Like, I was just like,
that's not even true anymore, actually.
That you're supposed to?
Yeah, I read a statistic recently that there's the nuclear family is like it's a minority now, to have a mom and dad and kids and have the parents be married and they're all in the same house. It's the lowest number in history or something like that.
It doesn't mean it's okay, right?
No. Yeah, it was just an interesting. I don't want to say shocked, but I was surprised by how low it was.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. Man, it's a bummer. But were your parents divorced?
No, they're still married.
Oh, my parents were divorced. And
I come from a very religious Mormon family.
And
by family, my parents are really the only ones that are super religious. None of my siblings are, but yeah.
And as a kid, you only know, like it didn't seem bad to me as a kid. It was just all I knew.
Mm-hmm.
I had this lady on yesterday, Miranda. So she was a 2-time Olympian. She won the gold medal in judo. She's the first American ever to win the gold medal in judo. She went to the Olympics in 2012. She went to the Olympics in 2016. Wow. And I think she just signed, or she's won this fighting competition 2 years in a row. Each year she's won $1 million. And now, like, there's all this hub about her. She's 12-0 as a professional fighter. And her name's Kayla Harrison. And there's all this hub about her that she's going to be like the greatest fighter who ever lived. And I invited her on the podcast, and I was just like, and she said yes. And I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe she's coming on. And then I look it up, and I see that she's written a book, right? So I'm like, I'll get this book and I'll read it and I'll impress her. The entire book is about how she was molested from when she was 8 years old to when she was 16.
Wow.
So this podcast went from
that
like, I'm so
changed your interview. It's that book.
Yeah. The whole,
could you imagine if you would have done the interview without ever reading the book and never bringing up what her book was about?
Well, the podcast started like that too. She's like, I'm like, hey, I guess we got to just go. I bought this book and I read it. And like, I don't know if I'm glad I read it, but I don't know if I would recommend it to anyone because it fucked me up. Like, it's going to change my view of the world forever, what she says in the book.
Yeah.
And she goes, And I go, we good just diving in here? And she goes, I do hundreds of interviews with thousands of questions with the same dumb shit. I'd love to talk about this book.
You know, I totally get that.
Oh, her phone died. 1 hour and 54 minutes with Miranda Alcaraz. God, it's cool. I like her more than when we started.
Agreed.
I already liked her.
She's pretty dope.
Yeah, that was smart that her husband came in and gave her a kiss.
Definitely staged.
Smooth. At the 54-minute mark. If you want to see it, it was 60 minutes ago at the 54-minute mark. She's gonna text me. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, my phone died. Hey, that's a great way to end. Oh, nope, there she is.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. It just like literally turned, like my phone just went back to its home screen.
I assumed it was, don't worry, Caleb comes on and fills for you. He just starts talking. Hi, I'm Miranda.
What I was going to say is I don't like doing CrossFit podcasts anymore because like the number of times, like how many times can I talk about how I broke my neck in the car accident? And it's not that it's not a cool story, because it is a really cool story and I know it impacts people, but it's like they don't know or they haven't researched past 2012 of my life. And it's really kind of like, yeah, I feel like it gets old.
How often do you do podcasts?
I was doing a lot more of them. Maybe like a year ago, I would pretty much go on anyone that would reach out. This last year we were really busy because we were releasing a new platform for street parking, and again, like cost benefit analysis, I just needed to be more focused on that. And then I'll take a break, obviously, when the baby comes. So it has like high peaks and valleys.
Have you ever done just a straight business interview?
Kind
like
of.
Has Forbes ever reached out to you or anyone like that?
No.
It's so weird. They'll do a piece like on 24-Hour Fitness gets a new CMO, and it's like this woman, and they'll really play the fucking woman angle. It's so crazy what you've done. Has Joe Rogan ever reached out to you?
No.
It's so weird.
Do you think that a lot of those interviews and like magazine covers and articles and things like that, do you think that they're because these companies or the individual themselves hires a publicist to find those interviews and stuff for them and promote it? Because sometimes I wonder, I mean, even like, I think we had a conversation a couple of years ago where or maybe not even that long ago, you posted something about Morning Chalk Up, how they were like listing all of the like big female entrepreneurs in the space, and they didn't include myself or Katie. Nicole on there.
Oh no, they had Nicole, they didn't have Katie. You and Katie.
Oh, that's right. Did you know that Katie and I were born on the same day, just a few hours apart?
No, same year too?
Yep.
Wow. And horoscopes are bullshit. That's weird. That's weird.
Yeah, I still have a friendship with her. I still interact with her from time to time as well.
I'm sure. I've asked Bill to be on the podcast before, and he says he doesn't do podcasts. I think I asked Katie, and she said yes, and then something fell through the cracks.
Oh, you should do it for sure. She's awesome.
She is awesome. Maybe I'll reach out to her right after this. Yeah, you have. I mean, in my scope of the world, I mean, I don't know everything, but you have no peer. What you're doing is really a trip. I just can't believe there's so many things. Like we didn't touch any of the topics that I wanted to talk about. I didn't know we were just going to talk about kids. And I guess I wanted to talk about Dave a little bit, but there's so much to talk about your business. Like my goal is to basically do this podcast and just be like, what is street parking? And then to talk about your new platform. But like people who don't know you might not even know they might have listened to this whole thing for 2 hours and still not know anything about you because I never even contextualized it. Like they have no idea what they're staring at. They just think you're some girl who had 3 kids. So maybe I fucked that up. Google her. You can't even Google her to fucking there's nowhere there's nowhere anyone can go to actually see your success.
No, but that's okay. I mean,
I know it's okay. I'm just saying, like, how come the dog isn't like, hey, there's like, how come no one's sniffing at in the lawn being like, hey, there's something buried here and dig it up? I mean, there's so many. I mean, if I'm Forbes, I do a story on you. It's a great story. It's fucking awesome. It's inspirational. It's motivational. It's business. It's success. It's hurdles. I mean, it's just, it's entrepreneur. entrepreneurial. But come up with a fucking better word for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of, in a way, I get irritated by it sometimes because I think that people don't see it. But then I think that there's a benefit to that. I think that being not an underdog, but even for our members, I feel like them being a part of something that feels, again, like almost like CrossFit did
Oh,
at first,
right.
where
Right.
it's special still. It's not just like, oh yeah, you see, everybody knows what that is, and Miranda's out bragging about how successful they are and everything like that, where it still feels special.
So Forbes does an article on you, and then all of a sudden you sold out.
I mean, it might come across like that, even if that's not the case, but
Right. Of course.
mhm.
I'm blown away again with this interview. Thank you. Thank you,
Oh.
Renata. Miranda is super awesome. She is super awesome. Thank you. I'm gonna save these notes. I'm going to look at. I'll just
Do you want to do a live? Should we do an interview during the home birth? Oh my god! Can you imagine?
Do you guys have a podcast for street parking? Like when you guys are all sitting on the couch or something?
Yeah, there's a couple different things that we do. I do some solo pieces where I just I'll attack like one topic for 20 minutes and go over it. Like I did a one recently. We're talking about how intensity is more important than volume, and it's like 20 minutes. And then we'll do like one that's like our basic nutritional beliefs and things like that. And that's just me by myself. And then we have our coaches roundtable, which is every couple weeks. The coaches, myself, Julian, Alex, and Jeb, sometimes Carolina, sometimes Molly, will jump on there, and we'll talk about a topic that we think is relevant for our members and get different perspectives on it and just have a discussion about it.
Street Parking Podcast. It's on Apple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
5
and
stars.
It's on Spotify too.
258. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to save my notes, and I stapled them. I put them next to the next time you come on. I don't have to panic. I can just be like, yeah, I got this. Happy birthing.
Thank you. With sometime within the next 3 to 7 weeks.
And then, okay. I'm sure we'll talk again. You think you'd ever come on again?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good. All right.